everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Nerd Soup. I am Beau Oliver, joined here today with Aaron the Nerd Soup Monkey, and we are back to review the Rings of Power episodes 6, 7, and 8. We're going to tackle the last 3 here, ending the first season of The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, which has been a very divisive show for many reasons. Even before it came out, it was divisive for messed up reasons. But, you know, opinions are like assholes, and I guess when it comes to this show, everybody's got their asshole out, so it's an interesting visual.
That's one way to go about it.
Yeah.
I think the saying's a little different, but I like the way you put it.
I think overall my thoughts for season 1 before we get into the episodes is it's been pretty much a mixed bag. I've liked some moments, I haven't liked others. I was a little late to the battle episode and everyone kept hyping it up. And when the episode was finished, my reaction was, is that it? And that's kind of been my reaction to the series as a whole.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think these last, well, not even all of these final 3, but I think 6 and 8 were probably my favorite episodes of the season. And I actually really liked the finale, but for the most part, I agree with you where the initial intrigue got me a little bit, but then it kind of failed at keeping me invested throughout the middle of the season. But once we got to the end, I found myself quite enjoying it. And I really did like the finale. So it ended on a strong note for me, but as a whole, when you look back on it, it's kind of, I don't know, it's a little disappointing, I would say.
Yeah, and like I said, we're going to tackle these last 3 episodes, so everybody will get all our thoughts, and we'll go back and forth. I'm sure there's, like I said, going to be things that we liked, things we didn't like. But before we get into that, I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor for today's episode, Raid Shadow Legends. Raid Shadow Legends is the first mobile game to bring a true console-level experience to your smartphone. With Raid, you can explore millions of champion combinations and master countless tactics as you take on raid bosses, dungeon runs, campaign battles, and PvP arena matches. If you're looking for a good reason to play Raid, well, we've got you covered with 3 good reasons, and those would be champion design, gameplay, and boss difficulty. The stunning champions in Raid are beautifully designed to bring a sense of epic fantasy to the game. Not only do they look great and unique and powerful and sometimes downright terrifying, but they all have different strengths and abilities, giving you the option to play Raid in a multitude of different ways. You will need to strategize against the many difficult bosses you will face throughout the fun yet challenging campaign Raid has to offer, which features console-level graphics and incredible attention to detail that can be felt throughout every aspect of Raid's addictive gameplay. And right now, Raid's running an amazing trick-or-treat promotion for Halloween, where you can win a bunch of real-life and in-game prizes, including $1,000 Amazon gift cards and some of the best epic and legendary Halloween champions in Raid. The best part? It's all free, and it's super easy. All you need is your Raid player ID. Just download Raid with our link in the description below, then head on over to trickortreat.polarium.com. To make it even easier, we've linked that in the description too. From there, just enter your details, spin the wheel, and get your prize. It's that easy. But don't wait around. This special event runs from October 15th to November 5th, and once it's over, so be fast. There's seriously never been a better time to get started with Raid, but there's more. You can also use the promo code DKRises for a bunch of free items, which include XP Brew Force 50, Force Potion High 15, Arcane Potion High 10, Arcane Potion Mid 5, and 500k Silver to instantly level up your strongest champion all the way to level 50, 5-star Ascension. And don't forget, if you click the link in our description box below or scan the QR code here on the screen, you will get bonuses worth up to $30. We're talking a free epic champion, Aina, 200k silver, 1 energy refill, 1 XP boost, and 1 ancient shard, so you can summon awesome champions as soon as you get in-game. These rewards can be found on the top right corner of your screen when entering the game, and are only available for the next 30 days for new players, so don't wait. Click that link and become a champion today with Raid Shadow Legends. Alright, so done with the sponsor. Now let's talk about the Rings of Power. Like I said, the big battle episode, it was hyped up all over Twitter. We got a lot of messages. Did you guys enjoy that? What about the ending? Are you starting to warm up on this show? And that's where it looks like a lot of the money went to. The episode is called Udun, which translates to Hell. That final sequence was pretty breathtaking and horrifying, especially the way that it leads into episode 7, the aftermath, where everything's foggy and it's just everything's on fire. They don't know what to do. They don't know what the fuck just happened. But the overall episode 6, I don't know. I didn't get swept up into the action. I thought some moments were cool. The first sequence when Arondir tricks them, when he takes down the tower and it crashes on Adar and Adar somehow survives that was pretty clever. And it's very graphic at times too. It got super violent, which is weird, and almost there's an inconsistency there with the tone. I think Lord of the Rings has always been dark. That's not something that I mind, but it was a little jarring for moments like that to just happen in this battle sequence. But overall, like I said, it was good. Mm-hmm. It was epic. It was big. But when the character development isn't there, the battles are never going to be as good as they can be. I just never got fully invested with any of these characters. Galadriel probably the most, but everyone else is just watching people fight.
I thought it was entertaining. I enjoyed the fight sequence. I thought it looked pretty cool. I think some of the moments were predictable. Obviously, Galadriel and her army coming in to save the day at the end you could see that a mile away, but I thought it was very entertaining. And the ending with when they fought the payoff of the tunnels, and that's how they created Mordor. I thought that was actually done really well. My problem was the next episode. I feel like the show all season has struggled to make big moments that don't consist of action sequences or big fight scenes, especially when characters are trying to either make a speech or convince another character to do something or...
Do you believe it? No!
Have these moments, these character moments between each other. They try to make it like a big moment, but it never hits for me. I feel like it falls flat every single time, and I think it struggled with that in that episode 7. Episode 8, I actually think they did a good job of that, especially with obviously some of the reveals we got, but I think the aftermath of that episode and to kind of follow it up with, I don't want to say a stinker, but something back to what I felt like during episodes 3, 4, and 5, I thought was disappointing. Because I feel like if you have that big battle of 6 followed up with the aftermath at 7 and leading into 8, you could have ended the season very strong and would have made me more optimistic going into a season 2. After the finale, I'm a little bit more optimistic, but it just halted all momentum from episode 6 with that follow-up.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm necessarily that interested in a season 2, especially after the reveal. That's supposed to be the thing that draws you in, and their comments about making Sauron in season 2 more like Walter White. He's going to be more complex, misguided.
Adar.
I don't know if I need that from Sauron.
Adar. We need to cook.
To your point about the writing, at times it's so weak. The inspirational quotes, I swear, when Miriel went blind, I thought Galadriel was going to say, just because one cannot see doesn't mean they can't feel the light.
I laughed out loud during that scene when they're on top of that hill and she's just blind and and they're just having that conversation together. It was just so awkward to me. Episode 7, for some reason, every time they try to make a moment or try to inspire hope after they kind of won but lost, it just fell flat for me. But with 8, I did enjoy because especially that sequence when Halbrand is kind of in Galadriel's head. I thought that was one of the better sequences of the entire show so far. I was really enjoying that, and I kind of knew what was going on there, especially when they called the stranger Sauron earlier in the episode. I kind of thought that was a bit of a misdirection, so it didn't surprise me that he was Sauron, but seeing that all play out and then having those moments with them in that kind of dream state back on the raft, I actually really enjoyed that.
It was bold of them to assume that Galadriel and Halbrand had any chemistry, so it's supposed to be a heartbreaking moment where this person...
that's a great point.
She's been helping for the entire season, is revealed to be a villain. And yeah, it was well directed, and I think the surrealist aspects of it, the dream sequence when she's talking to her brother and he's trying to get into her head that way, yeah, it's a great sequence, but the build-up wasn't there, the development wasn't there, so once again, it doesn't hit as hard as I think it could have. And Halbrand's character, normally a reveal like that makes you want to go back and watch the show from the beginning, try and catch some things that he's doing, some maneuverings in the background or pushing characters in certain directions.
Does she look dangerous to you?
Looks can be deceiving.
I haven't gone back and watched it, obviously, but just in my own memory, I'm thinking, he was just sort of there. He's just a guy. And I understand divine intervention is an aspect that plays a role in Lord of the Rings. I don't need a great explanation as to why they cross paths. But his actions don't really fit with the character of Sauron. He just kind of, winds up in the Elven kingdom because of all these things that had to go right, because of all these things that Galadriel is doing. I don't know. It feels like they just took a lot of liberties with that reveal.
Yeah, it's cool because I think when we think of Sauron from the movies, right, he's not even in physical state. But if you would have asked me who is Sauron, just from watching those 3 movies, I would just think he's a pure evil entity that probably has no emotion, no characterization. He's just destruction. That's all on his mind. But then when you realize some of the lore and the history and what they convey here, he was a bit of a trickster, like how he was able to trick the elves into making the rings, and you read up about that and you see it play out a little bit here, and you realize, okay, maybe there's some more charisma to this dark entity that you just thought was basically a spirit up until you actually see him in physical form. So it's hard for me to be like, oh, that's not Sauron, or that's not what Sauron wants, or that's not how he's supposed to act, because I really don't know what his deal is too much because obviously I never read any Silmarillion or any of the books, so I think it was cool to see him in that light. But yeah, when you look back on it, and especially the chemistry between him and Galadriel, it's not once in that moment when he was, even though I like the sequence, not once in that moment when he was like, me and you ruling over Middle Earth, was I oh, that was never your relationship. You guys are just buddies to me.
Yeah, and the whole last king of the Southlands, she's like, bring up those records. Oh, these records haven't been updated for 1,000 years. You're a fraud. The people didn't know that? I mean, the people living in the Southlands, I guess they don't have great access to their own history. That kind of, I guess, makes sense in a way. But man, it's a stretch for him to pull this off. You have to imagine this was deliberate, him trying to deceive Galadriel in this way. But that's when it comes back to the whole divine intervention and the chance meeting. So many things had to go right for this character. If you're going to make, I don't mind hot Sauron, because like you said in the lore, he was a good-looking dude who was corrupted by Morgoth, and like you said, became a bit of a trickster, a shapeshifter, taking on different identities. Center the show on Sauron then. Show us how he tricked the elves. Show us the relationship between Sauron and Celebrimbor. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Because in this, it's another chance encounter. We had to bring Halbrand back because he's got this injury. He just happens to meet Celebrimbor. He gives him the idea to combine it with gold and silver, and that's going to amplify the qualities of the mithril. But you're just taking, like I said, so many things just had to go right to get to that moment. I don't need perfect logic, but give him a little bit of agency. Give him some dark plans from the shadows that he's enacting that makes me want to go back and rewatch it a little bit, because you could pick up on some of the visual cues that he was Sauron and some of the things that he says, but not a lot with what he actually does. And to me, that's kind of disappointing from a storytelling standpoint. And I don't want to be so hard on the actor. I don't think he's that great. Yeah. I don't think any of these actors are really that great. I think it's going to be looked at as such a bad decision not to get some of these big English actors to carry your show. For me, it's only Galadriel that really feels grounded in this world, and at times Arondir.
Well, Elrond and Durin, I think, are still my most enjoyable, I think, best characters for me so far.
But so repetitive with the two of them.
Yeah.
The same conversations between them, and the same conversation between King Durin and Prince Durin.
They just had the best chemistry with each other.
Right, they did have good chemistry, yeah.
You know, it was an awesome shot, though, when they're on the raft and they look at the water and the reflection of Sauron and Galadriel.
Right.
That was actually a really dope shot. It kind of brought me back to, especially in Lord of the Rings, when Frodo asks her to take the ring, and she has that moment of maybe not even weakness, but when she's kind of reflecting about all the power, the most beautiful and most powerful being in the world, and I thought that was actually really cool. But
yeah, the close-up on their eyes was great, and the way that they tried to paint them as parallel to each other, almost like she's looking in a mirror, because at times she gets super dark, dude. When they caught Adar and she's talking about, I'm going to keep you alive so I can slaughter all these orcs, and then I could tell you're the last of your kind. Bro, she's super racist.
Since Sauron was probably I think this can work.
No, that's too far.
That's too far for Sauron.
I'm Sauron.
Yeah.
I love the way they pronounce Sauron, too. Sauron.
Where is he? Where's Sauron?
It's so weird when you're speaking the Queen's English, or I guess the King's English now. Emphasize these accents on these random words.
Uruk. I love the way you said that. I can totally understand why nobody likes the elves. Like when they're heading to the battle in episode 6 and Isildur, there you go. Everybody can give me a nice round of applause. I said it correctly. Is talking
definitely
about...
not dead.
No, he's definitely dead. He died. That's why his dad was so upset.
Did he watch the first 10 minutes of Fellowship?
So. I think he's actually... No, he's there in The Last Alliance. But when he's like, oh, I want to, see the shore. And Galadriel's like, oh, I've been looking at it for 3 hours already. Just so cocky. And every time somebody goes to an elf with a problem, like Halbrand to Galadriel, I've seen horrible things, and she's just like, be free of it. It's the equivalent of, I'm depressed. Well, go for a walk. And same thing with
Well,
Theo.
sorry, I haven't had 3,000 years of life to figure out my problems.
Arondir, same thing. Theo goes to him, I don't know if I can resist the temptation of Sauron. And Arondir's like, well, just be rid of it. And they're like, you know what? I didn't think about that, Mr. Elfman.
Well, it's like, too, when, like, all these problems are happening because the elves just don't want to live normal lives.
Right.
They're so disgusted
King
at
Durin did
being
make that
mortal.
point.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they'll just be like everybody else. Time to pack it up. Oh, you can't
3,000
live
years wasn't
forever?
enough?
Do you have to live with the fact of your own mortality?
Oh.
Wah.
Fuck out. I want to picture them in a New York accent. Fuck out of here.
The
elves.
Doors?
Yeah. They should.
That would be funny if Tolkien was just some guy from New York and all the stereotypes were American stereotypes instead of United Kingdom stereotypes.
Yeah.
You see that? Some Irish folks were upset about the portrayal of the Harfoots.
Everyone hates the Harfoots. I like the Harfoots. Although, if that is Gandalf, which, I mean...
You want to talk a little Gandalf?
Pretty much confirmed. Gandalf doesn't arrive until... Guess not.
Oh, well, that's the thing. And I can understand why Tolkien nerds... Because, listen, a lot of people love this shit, and they take it seriously, and they've been reading it for years and years and years. So I don't want to say I don't care about it. It doesn't matter that they've condensed the timelines. Truthfully, I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, it's about my own enjoyment, and that doesn't bother me as much. But I understand where people that are coming from a place of frustration over it. But it looks like he may be Gandalf or Saruman. Either or.
Yeah, I hope it's not Gandalf because it makes me feel a little icky that he had like a prior Hobbit friend before Bilbo. Because I feel like, come on, it's like he prematurely cheated on them. I like Nori, but come on, it's Bilbo, Frodo. That's his hobbits. Now you're telling me he had another Hobbit all these years ago?
Well, he looks like he's going to be the one who leads them to the Shire. They're always on the move, on these dangerous treks, finding new lands depending on the seasons. He's going to carve them out a little place here.
I also feel like in The Hobbit and even in Lord of the Rings, he's always like surprised about the resilience and the feistiness of the hobbits because everyone looks down upon them and they're not that physically, they're not presented to be anything more than just what they are. And time again, they've proved that differently and they show to be the most heroic of them all. And Gandalf is always like taken aback by that.
Is he?
I feel like he's always, he appreciates it. It surprises him when Frodo says, I'll do it, I'll take the ring to Mordor, and that look on his face, and he always remarks about how they keep surprising him.
Do you think he's just worried about Frodo?
I think he's just, he respects the Hobbit.
It sounds like he doesn't respect the hobbits and he needs to learn to respect them from your perspective in the movies.
No,
you're saying it doesn't add up because he's kind of going through that here, and then he reverts back to his old
Nori's
way.
just a terrible Hobbit, keeps fucking everything up for him. And that's why he swore off hobbits until Bilbo came around.
Well, he doesn't need to be Gandalf. He could be, I don't know how many Istar there were, but he could be, like I said, it's Saruman. I think there was a brown wizard as well. I can't really remember his name.
Yeah, but he was wacky with all the animals.
Yeah. So with that reveal, it leaves it up in the air.
I would like it
that
to
he
be
is at least a wizard.
I would
or
like
an
it to be
angel.
Saruman. I mean, that would be cool because, in the movie, obviously he's shown to be the bad guy, but before that, Gandalf's perception of him is that he was probably a good guy.
I'm good. Once again, great writing there.
I'm good.
The triumphant moment where the stranger finally realizes what he's been sent to Earth to do. I'm good. Because he didn't understand English for a little bit.
I'm nice with it.
And Nori that would have been better. I'm built different. Sending you back to the Shadow Realm. And the Mystics. They've been just looking for the stranger, looking for Sauron. They made a mistake here. But that feels like a letdown because I think all three of them look evil. It's not three people you'd want to come across alone in the forest. And they don't really do anything. They just get taken out by the Harfoots and Gandalf. I mean, Sadok lost his life. R.I.P. Sadok.
He didn't have any magic for that?
Right? Yeah, no, there's no healing magic, I guess. He can only heal himself. But I guess that's a little bit of karma, right? When he was going to leave Nori's family behind.
They're ruthless.
But once again, the relationship with Elrond and Durin, it's about keeping the secrets, figuring out the secrets, then trying to convince the king to mine for the mithril, and then he doesn't want to do it, and then they go behind his back. It's just repetitive. And I think with the stranger and the Harfoots, it was also very repetitive. He's figuring out some magic, he does good, he makes a mistake, he figures out some magic, does good, makes a mistake.
Did he even ask Nori to come with him? I think they just foisted her on him, just waiting under the tree. It's like, what are they doing down there?
Right. And I guess in season 2, he's going to travel to Rune. And it definitely is a cute pairing. But like I said, for that to be the magical moment where he takes out the Mystics, I wasn't that impressed by it. And like I said, the presence of the Mystics, the appearance, the costuming, the makeup, all of it made them look like just evil sons of bitches. And then they don't do anything that evil. They weren't intimidating. They weren't scary. And they get tricked by the Harfoots, which is fine, because they are little tricksters, those little devils, and they're defeated by Gandalf, or whoever he is. But all of it was just, like, we need to wrap this up. It almost feels, so many of these storylines just feel like trailers for season 2.
Well, I did actually like the moment when he does snap out of it and saves the day. Like, that's what I said.
What did you like about it?
I thought it was just, so when I feel like the Stranger, I was always intrigued by that character, just the presence of him, and that's why I was drawn to that storyline and probably Elrond and Durin's the most. And I do like the Harfoots, and I think they make for some, people think they're annoying. I find them endearing. But for that moment when he is able to gain his conscience and have that moment, and kind of having the idea he's Gandalf in my head going into it, see him with the staff and take them out, like watching that I thought was actually really cool. But that's what I said earlier, when they struggle with moments that aren't these big action sequences, like you said, like with the dialogue after and things like that. That's when it kind of falls flat for me.
Compare that to Gandalf's magical moment in Fellowship of the Rings.
It
doesn't even hold a candle.
But in that, like, knowing that it's going to be Gandalf, like,
but it's not. You don't even know.
I know.
You just said you don't want it to be Gandalf.
But in my head, I'm like, okay, that's probably Gandalf. So, like, in that moment watching it, I was thoroughly entertained to see, like, a young Gandalf regain himself. Yes, I was.
Okay. I guess I have to take your word for it.
For that 20 seconds when he got the staff back and fucking desecrated their bodies, I was like, hell yeah, that's pretty cool.
But they didn't do anything. So him taking them out...
She was in the fire.
Yeah, I guess she did the fire stuff, and she killed Sadok. Like I said, so many of these storylines just feel like a setup for future seasons. So whoever he is, the Stranger and Nori are going to be the big two, and they're going to go on their adventure. And I do hope that they will eventually cross paths with some of these other characters. But even like a character like Arondir, so he doesn't come back until the end of episode 7, where he reveals that he's okay. That's supposed to be a big reveal, right? Theo and Arondir, he's finally getting along with the dude who's having sex with his mom. Isn't that just great, right? Be a nice, happy family.
A lot of these moments, a lot of these speeches are just poorly written.
And he walks out in slow motion. You're supposed to feel this rush of emotion. Finally, they're reunited, right? And you just don't feel anything for it.
Well, like,
or even like in the battle sequence when they had to...
who died? Like the weak friend?
Who's the weak friend again?
Exactly. He was like boys with Ilsidur. Did I say it right?
Oh, right. Yeah.
And like, that's really it? Like,
well, when they had to cauterize the wound, his mom's wound, why was there so much time focused on that? There's so much tension being built for that. Is she going to survive? Is she not going to survive? She's clearly going to survive. They're spending so much time on it. Then,
you know what?
Then she's going to fucking die after they spend 2 minutes doing this?
No, that's a little bit of poor writing there, because when she did have that injury, when they had to cauterize the wound, like you said, and everything, and then after the battle, you have the Theo looking for his mom, like, oh, no, she's not dead, because they literally just had an almost death with that same character an episode ago. So you kind of can't play that twice, and with especially that close together.
Right, and even the almost death with Arondir when he's having his one-on-one against the big orc and he's dripping all that black goo on him, it is disgusting, but you know he's not going to die in that he's going to get saved, and he does by Bronwyn. One thing I did enjoy about the battle is, I guess this makes me sort of a sicko, when they realized that the first wave of orcs were actually just men in masks.
No,
that was very disturbing. And even when they do arrive on horseback, I don't know.
Poor man's Helm's Deep.
Poor man Helm's Deep, yeah. Or even in Battle of the Bastards. You know the Knights of the Vale are showing up, but it's still like, oh shit, the Knights of the Vale. Don't they look so cool? Their armor's so shiny, and they got the sigil of House Aaron. And when they show up, it's just on horseback, trotting very quickly.
Angela had a sick move, though, when she backed off the horse and tilted to the side a little.
You see the incels complaining about that on Twitter?
Why?
They're like, she's such a show-off. Like Legolas wasn't skateboarding and shit.
Arondir was literally grinding a chain.
No, I mean, at the end of the day, she is my favorite character of all these characters, because I think, like I said before, she feels the most otherworldly and ethereal. You actually believe that this is an elf who's been alive for thousands and thousands of years. So when Theo has that moment, Who is that?
Oh my God! Talk about Theo. I hate him.
Why do you hate him?
When they were on their little journey together, and
Oh yeah, he was kind of
the
annoying.
audacity to try to recreate or resemble the shot from Fellowship of the hobbits hiding under the tree from the Ringwraith. To do that with Theo.
He's really not that bad.
He took the sword out. He almost got them killed. What, do you think he was going to take
he's
all
a
those
kid.
orcs? Fucking hate kids.
Got some issues, man. You know what I thought was a great shot when she is chasing Adar and Halbrand's coming in the other direction? That's the first hint I got that this guy was Sauron, because I was like, oh shit, he's gonna trip Galadriel and he's gonna let Adar get away with this. But it looks like they have some history, because Adar claims that he killed Sauron. Another funny thing with Galadriel, she's like, I don't believe you killed Sauron. You're a fucking pussy.
I killed Sauron.
I do not believe you.
The way she doesn't buy it for a split second. So I think Adar, even though he had that cool entrance, he ends up being a little bit of a letdown. But I am a bit interested in the history between Adar and Sauron. If that's going to be Sauron's main adversary, right?
That'd be cool.
I think it's always fun to have villain on villain violence in a show like this.
Well, like Adar, and everything he was saying about his history, I thought was really cool. Like how he was technically like the first orc. And yeah, but
well, also he calls them his children, and she goes, "No, they're not. They're just enslaved. That's why I'm going to kill them all." And they address that, yeah, she's going down this dark path. He even says that to her. So it's not like it's something they're leaving unaddressed, and she's the hero. She could say things like that because they're pure evil. But to go from they're enslaved, basically they don't have free will, to I'm going to murder all them. Are the orcs not living things? Do they not deserve rights?
Orc rights.
Yeah, I mean, come on. He's just trying to give them a place to live. And I'm being a bit cheeky here.
Yeah.
Being a bit glib. But I think that's an example of some of the inconsistency in the writing there, where she acknowledges that they're being led to do this by someone who's enslaved them, and then says she wants to wipe them out.
I mean, Adar was making points. You know, he just wants to, they get looked down upon. They get this label thrusted upon them. It's like, we just want to, live. I mean, we kill people and stuff who get in our way, but like, you do the same thing. Middle Earth's a big place.
Right, yeah, what the hell?
Let's share it.
The way Southland changed to Mordor on the title card, was that necessary? At this point, we got it. We know that it's Mordor. There's magma everywhere. The volcano erupted. There's no sun.
I was confused.
Like Nidavellir.
Well, I mean, the biggest thing, the Rings of Power.
Oh,
we saw some.
Yeah. So the three for the elves.
3 for the elves.
Yeah.
Well, I believe that 3 elven rings were made last. They were the last of the 20 rings made. Here it's the first.
Okay, so they've switched it up.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting. I was reading up on some of the lore of how the rings were created, and I already can't remember it. So I know he's got to trick them again, right, to make more rings? Because the elves are the ones who are making the rings.
Well, he makes his in secret.
Okay.
7 for the elves, 9 for men.
No, 3 for elves, 7 for dwarves.
Yeah, that's what I said. Oh, 7 for dwarves, 9 for men.
But the dwarf rings don't even work.
They corrupt them a little bit, I think. Not as much as the men. I think that's what turns them into the Nazgul.
Right.
And
that would be fun to watch, actually.
It seems like the elven rings are made of a little bit of care. They had like checks and balances built into it, like to kind of counteract the light and dark within the rings. I mean, that would have made sense if they made them last to finally correct their mistakes. It's like, ooh, the rings we gave to the dwarves and men are not doing well for them.
Okay.
They are driving them insane.
I like Galadriel, but her at the end not admitting that Halbrand is Sauron to Elrond and Celebrimbor, and she's saying, if he ever comes back, don't treat with him. You may be court-martialed. You were running around Middle-earth with the enemy, and now you're just trying to say, oh, if he ever comes back, don't let him in. You don't think that's information they would like to know? That man was Sauron. He just helped us create these powerful rings. Maybe he's got another plan. Mm-hmm. Maybe we should get rid of these rings.
Well, they need them.
Well, yeah, they need them so they can live forever. The hubris on these elves. But I found that funny, where it's just not, wow, I've made a horrible mistake. It's, if he ever comes back, you lock your doors and be mean to him.
He's not Sauron, though.
He's not Sauron, though. He's just, but who is he?
Was Elrond supposed to deduce that when he found the scroll? Because it seems like at the end he looks at Galadriel like, I know. But does he?
I don't know. I imagine that something that will be addressed. I did get I thought it was clever the way they used Adar's words through Celebrimbor when he's trying to pitch Gil-galad on the idea of creating the rings, the power over flesh. And Galadriel's like, what? How the hell did that go from Adar to you? So that's what kind of sparks her to look into Halbrand's history. But once again, taking some major liberties there with, just looking up the records, and it's as easy as that.
And like even when they have to use her knife to make the rings, her brother's knife.
Ah, yeah.
That didn't hit any emotional.
No, that's supposed to be the knife, the sentimental moment.
That didn't strike any chord in me.
When they went back into the dream world and she was back with her brother, I was like, oh yeah, this is how it started. She was a little kid and she's doing this for her brother.
I like that shit. That was my favorite part of the whole season, maybe.
That does fuck with you a little bit. And I think the eye acting there was good, especially the special effects when it zooms into Sauron and he announces that he has returned. It was spooky and scary. And then you have that last shot of him in the hood, and it looks like the eye of Sauron with the close-up, and he goes into Mordor, and that's going to be his kingdom. But this idea of turning him into a Walter White for season 2...
I don't even know what that means, to be honest.
And Walter White was pretty evil. He was nice to Holly.
Was he, though? He kidnapped her and abandoned her in a firehouse.
Someone said Skylar shouldn't have been crying. She only knew her for a year. He did abandon her in a firehouse.
One of the funniest memes I've ever seen, it was like back when it was still airing, and it's when Holly says, "Mama," and it's Walt's like, "Todd, I got another job for your uncle."
Oh, what a show. The memes are so good.
It was like Tony Soprano and Walter White, so like an anti-hero, right? I mean, that would have been cool from the beginning, but like, what is that in this world for Sauron when he's clearly painted as he's the bad guy? Because we already have all these good guys.
They're trying to give him the Thanos treatment, right? I'm going to save the world by doing something so extreme that a lot of people aren't going to agree with because I'm disillusioned, misguided. I'm the protagonist of my story. I'm the hero. I think what I'm doing is actually right, which I guess is interesting, but I wish they would have started down that path a little bit earlier instead of leaving that for the big season 1 reveal cliffhanger. But I guess we'll have to see how he enacts his plans in season 2. I think the idea of just revealing Sauron in the very beginning and having people manipulated by him throughout the season would have been better, but I guess maybe we'll get that in season 2. If he's still going to try and deceive some people, maybe they'll change actors since he is a shapeshifter, right? He reappears as a... Imagine they did that again. They introduced like 3 new characters and one of them is Sauron who's shapeshifted. At that point, I'd stop watching. I hope for the actor's sake, Charles Vickers, that he gets to dive a little bit deeper into this character, get into the meat of what makes Sauron such an evil bastard.
Yeah, and that's interesting that maybe he does have some
good in him.
Yeah, or even like just the self-awareness to be like, to Galadriel, like you can help balance me out a little and we can kind of rule. It goes back to, I think it's an old trope. I think we've seen it in Star Wars like a million times where like with Anakin and Padme or even with Rey and Kylo, it's like, let's rule together. We could make the world a better place. But it never really works out that way.
They did Reylo it there.
Yeah.
People have been debating this online, the idea if there was an actual romance between them. Did you pick up on romance?
No.
Okay. Do you think that's what they were going for, though?
It seems like
that's been a debate, too, that the writers weren't going for romance, and that's people projecting onto their relationship.
So he was just like, marry me out of nowhere?
Right. Political marriage?
Yeah.
Bill and Hillary of Middle-earth. But the way they were talking to each other made it sound like there was something brewing there.
Yeah, and even like
she even brings up her husband. He's dead.
Even the way he touches her before that.
Yeah, he stroked her chin.
Like,
that's a classic move.
I don't know whether it could be a projection, but even the chemistry as just 2 platonic heroes wanting to do what's right wasn't there when that was what they were trying to convey.
I know.
So, like, either way you slice it, these people are strangers.
And that's the key, because I see this idea floating around that Galadriel, through her obsession with trying to stop Sauron, trying to find Sauron, she inadvertently unlocked Sauron through their adventures, trying to push him into this role, and him realizing, oh wow, I'm pretty awesome. I should rule over Middle Earth, right? Even though I've been a bit remorseful for my previous actions, and I don't even know if you can necessarily view it as remorseful or him trying to come over to the good side. And like I said, she inadvertently pushes him back into the darkness, but they don't have chemistry.
Yeah,
they don't have chemistry as characters.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just good idea, poor execution. And I hate to be so hard on the actors, but I don't think, besides Galadriel, and I think the writing for all these characters was inconsistent. She gives the best performance.
I think sometimes even she lacks emotional weight behind her words.
But I wonder sometimes if it's more the words. Because even when Adar's talking to Halbrand, did I kill your wife, a child? And she goes, eat your tongue. So stupid. She's supposed to be commanding in that moment, but it just makes me giggle. And like I said, the Instagram inspirational quotes every 10 minutes between these characters. No one could just have a normal conversation. They always have to out-clever each other with some fucking riddle.
That's
or
why I like
metaphor.
Elrond and Durin.
Right, yeah.
Give me the meat and give it to me raw. No one's putting that on their Instagram captions.
Or when,
yeah.
When Durin's going to reveal his secret name, that felt like a genuine moment. They've got way more romantic chemistry than Galadriel and Halbrand.
Jim.
Keith.
I'm just coming back with an army and taking all your fucking Neithil. Keith.
And even the conversations between Durin and his dad, every time he'd have to start with some story about when you were first born and you're going to be a great king. And he got frustrated by it. It's like, yo, I'm just trying to mine this mithril.
Underrated. Dissa was like scheming a little. Did you get that vibe?
Yeah, no, she pushed him to go behind the king's back.
I would like that. I'd like that a little. It's like, okay, Dissa.
I did like Dissa, yeah. Well, then they woke up the boy, the big boy.
Snoozing.
Yeah.
If it turns out to be Gandalf and he somehow fights them again, that would be terrible.
No, they can't do that. They gave
him another Frodo.
No. Well, that's
or
fine. Dude, they outlive these people. He's an angel. He can have different buddies.
Not hobbits. I don't know, just something about just Gandalf, Bilbo, Frodo. That's his hobbits. It's like when you find out your girl had other boyfriends before you. It's like something that's clearly...
that's how you say... Yeah.
It's a clearly reasonable, logical thing.
Right, exactly. That's why you sound so ridiculous right now, is you're furious that your girlfriend dated other men. Like, I can't believe this. This is outrageous.
In 11th grade?
Well, those don't really count. Anybody who married their high school sweetheart is an idiot.
But yeah, all in all, things I liked, things I didn't. I really hope they tighten it up for season 2, because I think we did see a little bit of potential, but things need to be a lot tighter. It just seems, like I said, the moments through dialogue aren't there, that's what made Lord of the Rings so special and so great. Like, yeah, you had the big moments, but for a lot of the movie, it's just the journey.
And also, you had incredible actors. You know, maybe they weren't big at the time, but Viggo Mortensen as Aragorn, just his presence. And that we overuse that, but I think that is important. It's just a guy who, when you watch him move and you watch him talk, he's holding you in the palm of his hand. You're glued to his every action. Ian McKellen as Gandalf was nominated for an Oscar. And at that time, he was Sir Ian McKellen. So that's some legitimate talent there. The star power, Orlando Bloom as Legolas, not the greatest actor of all time, but star power, star quality. And all the hobbits were brilliantly cast. Like I said, I think Galadriel and Nori, because I'm going to include her in that group, to me were the two most convincing characters in this series. But I don't want to call them no-names, but you got a bunch of no-names. Like a guy like Elendil.
Don't call the actor who played young Ned Stark a no-name, whose name escapes me at the moment.
Don't call him. I can't remember his name, but how dare you? But Elendil. Imagine if that was Jason Isaacs, or somebody who was a bit more familiar, the audience was more familiar with, where, yeah, he doesn't have a lot of time, but Jason every time Isaacs he's on screen...
anything these days.
What do you mean? He was just in Death of Stalin.
I know, but I feel like he's in...
Yeah, he's not busy.
Yeah.
And he was also in that movie last year that was very acclaimed.
Mess?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But you're a big Second Amendment guy. I wouldn't expect you to watch that.
Was that the one with letting soldiers sleep in your house?
Or the Sean Bean equivalent. They should have got Sean Bean as Elendil. Or just somebody, a name where, like I said, he doesn't have a lot of moments on screen, but when he's having that conversation with Isildur about riding the horse, and he's like, "Who taught you that? Your mother." Right.
Got him.
Oh shit! I used to bang your mom. Or when he tells Galadriel the story about her drowning. No, it's just like silly. It's supposed to have this emotional, sentimental impact. A moment between father and son, or a moment when he's recalling the death of his beloved and how he hasn't escaped this trauma.
Oh, you know what I don't...
sorry to cut you off. I did appreciate how his resolve was kind of broken there but he regained it.
Yeah.
That he was questioning why he saved Galadriel and then realized, okay, this is, you know what, this is what we need to do. I'm 10 toes down, going to continue with this journey. I did appreciate that about his arc, but
10 toes down, huh?
10 toes down, yeah.
You are a big feet guy.
Don't put that on me.
You just put the Second Amendment on me. I think you should
You know
be
what?
happy.
That's a fair trade, yeah, at that point. Right, yeah. You have to be Second Amendment guy. I'll be feet guy. The foot of the king. So it's like a combination of the writing's not always so strong, and neither are the actors. So, better writing benefits everybody at the end of the day. But at least if you had some star power here, they can clean up some of the shit. And I hate to be that harsh, but there's no star power.
It's got pretty cool vibes.
But why does Amazon keep doing this? You're going to put $1 billion into a TV series and you're not going to get one name? Not one? Like House of the Dragon, they're no huge stars, but they've been in things. They've got resumes, you know?
Another thing, what happened in Numenor?
Numenor.
What happened in Numenor?
Well, the king died.
Okay. I guess the Magister was taking over.
Pharazôn?
So they had the sigils were all black.
No, that was for the death of the king.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if he's trying to usurp the throne. I don't think he is. I think
He was like
Mirror is.
looking at him like, I'm about to usurp him. He gave him a usurper look.
Yeah, that was a...
The sister, and she was painting him.
And yeah, and then he showed her the Palantir, so I guess she's going to stop being racist against the elves.
Or even more racist.
Right. She's like, oh, the elves do this? Holy shit. But even a character like Muriel, she goes blind, and it's supposed to be this moment of, even though she can't see, she's going to continue down this path. But
yeah, I don't know what the blindness does, story-wise. Well, maybe we haven't seen it yet, but it's
a sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, just because you can't see the light, you can feel its warmth. Shut up.
That'd be cool if she turns into a daredevil.
I thought that was going to happen, actually.
Yeah.
It's one of those cases of, if you're a fan of a team and your best player is a first ballot Hall of Famer, great every season, and your team trades him for a good player, my expectations are for greatness. Mm-hmm. So being good enough isn't good enough. No, those are the expectations when you're making a series where I can understand if this was like normal television where you don't have the budget, but they marketed this and they promoted this as movies coming to TV, and it's the Lord of the Rings. So there's some expectations here that they didn't meet.
I mean, I tell you what, watching the House of the Dragon pit scene when Rhaenys comes up through the floorboards compared to the VFX in this, I think it blows House of the Dragon out of the water in some aspects. So visually, I think it's always been stunning, but, I could do with House of the Dragon level VFX if the story and writing around it is better. That can only carry it so far for me, so maybe allocate your budget a little better.
All this show does is make me want to rewatch Fellowship.
I was watching Fellowship the other day. It's a good movie.
It is. My favorite of the three.
It was on the Sunday marathon, and it was on before the Jet game, but I had to change it to watch the Jets, but I was upset that I had to change the channel. Really wanted to watch it.
All right, guys, that does it for our review of the Rings of Power episodes 6, 7, and 8, the finale review. I think we're going to try and come back for a full season 1 review, but I know we've said that before for other shows and then we haven't done it. But I'd like to reevaluate this season, rewatch it, maybe come to a different conclusion. But I'm excited to read some of the comments. Actually, you know what? I'm not excited to read some of the comments. Maybe I'll read them in a few years because I imagine they're not going to be so nice.
No, it's one of those things where people who like it are going to focus on the negative and people who hate it are going to focus on any positive we gave it, or our negative isn't negative enough, or negative in the same ways that other people are. So
that's a lot of math. Holy shit.
I know.
You just gave me a migraine. All right, I'm going to go take a couple Advil, but thank you for joining us.
Hell yeah. Oh, no, you said Adderall. We're about to get real wild in this bitch.
Alright guys, that does it for this video. Thank you for joining us for this review. For Aaron the Nerd Soup Monkey, I am Beau Oliver. Before we sign off, I want to quickly spotlight our weekly podcast, the Nerd Soup Podcast, published every Wednesday at noon. Every week you could join myself, Aaron, Teddy, and the rest of the Nerd Soup crew as we discuss the hottest stories in movies and TV, equipped with some off-the-cuff commentary on the world of pop culture, while also providing extended reviews for the movies and shows we love. You can subscribe to our podcast channel on YouTube at the Nerd Soup Podcast, which can also be found on our Nerd Soup homepage, and you can listen to episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and all of the podcasting platforms we publish to. Thank you again for joining us on this review, and we will be back next week to review the Rings of... No, that's over. So, just House of the Dragon.
Wow, that was probably our best review yet. Hey guys, Aaron the Nerd Soup Monkey here with a brief shameless plug before we end the video. Do you ever feel like you don't have an adequate amount of nerd soup in your life? Like you're going to bed hungry and yearning for the nonsensical yet entertaining nutrients our podcasts provide? Well, we've come up with the perfect solution. The Nerd Soup Fan Question Podcast, exclusively available to our Patreon supporters. You can sign up now by visiting patreon.com/nerdsoup, and for the price of only $1 per month, you'll receive exclusive access to our weekly podcast where we answer your questions that don't make it to the main show. And while you're there, you can check out the other rewards we offer to our patrons, like stickers, mugs, t-shirts, behind-the-scenes footage, and appearing in the credits at the end of our videos. And that's exactly what we're going to do right now. Roll the names of the nerds who make Nerd Soup possible. The reason why the crypto crash didn't send our lives spiraling down a black hole of no return. Alright, I'll stop talking so you can listen to this jazzy-ass music while checking if Beau spelt your name wrong in the credits.